Ready to go?
Yes. Too much papers, man.
Yeah.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Moon Underwater Podcast. I'm
Yes.
Kelly Daniels.
And I'm Steve Jones.
Here
and
we
I just
are.
did the move where I was looking for my phone. It's up there.
It's up.
And I just put it there.
Hey, Steve's phone.
Hey.
We're waving to Steve's phone for all of you not watching. How are you doing, man?
A little hurting.
Hurting?
Yeah, I got a marathon coming up, as we've talked about. We like to do ridiculous things. And I did a training run yesterday of 20 miles. Average pace was 9:53 or 4 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there's people that do stupid things like 7-minute mile.
I remember when we had our meeting that was recorded, I said that one of your notes was to lose weight. And
Yeah.
You're looking pretty skinny, man.
Svelter.
I'm
Yeah.
a little.
This doesn't help.
I'm worried. Well, here, cheers.
Cheers.
You ran 20 miles. Here, let me drink. And it's Monday, and I made
day?
it. I made it through Monday.
Nice.
And so it's been a long week, but
I ran 20 miles and you made it through Monday.
yeah.
Nice.
So here, the beer tastes good,
It does.
and here we are talking about.
We're back at our regular table, by the way, and I really appreciate being back at this table.
Oh yeah, this is our place. It's fun when other people come in and borrow it, and we kind of have to be resourceful. But
Yeah.
I always do have a little bit of resentment. I feel like whoever kind of takes this spot, they don't really utilize it.
No, we
the
need
way
a plaque or something.
I think we will have to be here for another 20 years or so, and
We might get
we'll
one.
be old and drooling. But they'll give us a plaque. So-
And there was something disconcerting about the other table. There was it was like probably an 8-year-old sitting basically right next to me.
Oh yeah,
And we kept cursing.
Yeah. There was that.
like,
Also, the Paralympics were on TV.
And they were super distracting.
They were distracting. It was people doing archery without arms and using their feet. I'm like, that is amazing, but I am got to focus on
The guy that won has been on the local radio. Local guys here had him on a
that's
couple
right.
times. Yeah,
I think I saw it on the news for Augustana College, my employer, which seemed to suggest he was some kind
him
of
a name.
had a connection to Augustana College. I think maybe an alum or something. I don't know. I don't read news articles
Just
on the
headline.
website of
Yeah.
my. Sorry, don't do it. Kind of busy for that sort of business.
Yeah, I feel
Speak-
like we're sort of like wrapping up the business from last time when I
gosh.
couldn't say there's an 8-year-old sitting next to me and I
I
keep
need
swearing
to
and it's very
also
uncomfortable.
wrap up. I think it's a bad idea to go back and to apologize or over promise. But I had like total brain fog last recording. I have like these allergies when it's like high pollen.
Yeah.
It's been high pollen every day for like 2 months.
Are you
in this
suggesting
area.
your brain is filled with pollen?
I don't know, but I get my symptoms. I get is a little bit of a cough, like a back of my throat thing, and I just get fatigued, and sometimes I have a hard time thinking. So I'm going to blame it on that,
All right.
and not like binge drinking for like a week before,
before
showing
school.
up for the
Yeah.
recording, and
Before
so
school starts.
I don't know. I feel like I was not on. I was like wasn't my usual self. So maybe listeners will make no difference whatsoever. I'm always like that, but we'll see.
Is it helpful that I don't even remember what it was?
I think that both of us are probably in our own, like we're worrying about our own performance
Yeah.
more than like
I don't
judging
remember
the other
what
guy.
we've even talked about.
We talked about Brave New World.
Oh, that's why I don't really.
But
remember.
also
It's
the
all
other thing was I read it on a Kindle, and so I didn't have real note, and my notes were anyway. Now it's becoming this litany of
It is.
excuses for.
Yeah.
It was actually my best performance. It's the
right. It
greatest.
is. Everybody
podca-
should go back and listen to
greatest
that one.
podcast episode ever
Of
I'd
any
say.
podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Brave New World, regardlessly whether it's read on
Regardlessly?
Kindle or regardlessly. Yeah, I did say that. I was just going to keep going,
I know you were.
but you noticed, and you had to say something, didn't you? Thanks, Steve.
I'm not the English professor.
Now
here.
he's getting skinny, and now he's all sassy.
Mouthy.
It's like,
Yeah, skinny and mouthy.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well,
I
like
want
my sister,
I
I
want the
guess.
fat
Yeah.
Steve back. Come on, man. This running, I don't think
He'll
it's
be
good
back.
for you.
Don't
it's
worry.
bad.
He
It's
will
bad.
be back.
It's bad for your legs.
Trust me.
I'm going to talk to your physical therapist and say, I think Steve's
No
really
more.
really
I'm out.
overdoing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have her show up at your house.
Nurse Ratchet, no more.
And you got out of that toxic relationship, huh?
I did. Well, we're not talking about any of those things today.
Speaking-
Of toxic relationships?
Speaking of Augustana
Oh.
College, we decided. Well, I was just in Ireland, and so you suggested we talk about Ireland.
Yeah.
And my trip was fairly boring. So I mean,
That
just
sucks.
no. It was. I have some things to talk about if we end up going there, but it was boring, meaning there weren't any major problems. It was pretty
Oh,
smooth.
that's what we like to talk about.
And there were a
Yeah.
couple of. So I've gone there a couple of times, and so you suggested we talk about Ireland, and then I thought, okay, let's get some stories, some Irish stories.
Yeah.
So I queried my colleague Joe McDowell, Dr. McDowell,
Nice.
who is a real all things Ireland kind of literature professor, and he suggested a short story, a contemporary short story. So we read a bunch of stories. We read like 3 or 4, trying to find the right one. And then we decided on 2.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the well of James Joyce's Dubliners, one of the greatest story collections in English
My first time
ever.
at that well.
It's a great well, and it's, the story of the guy at the bridge. They're peeing. One guy's like, water sure is cold. The other guy's like, deep too.
No.
You don't know that one?
No.
Anyway, that's the kind of well it is. Deep.
Deep one.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Do you get the joke, right? 2
No.
guys peeing off a bridge, whipping
Okay.
their
yeah.
junk out.
Sure.
And one guy goes, water sure is cold.
Yeah.
Suggesting what?
Yeah. Well, there's
And the
some
other guy's,
shrinkage,
deep too.
You
His
have to
dick
spell
goes
it out for
all
me.
the way to the bottom of the water. You're,
A little slow on the uptake
you know,
today.
I think-
I've been thinking about computer shit all day, and
I think it's the pollen, high pollen.
I
count.
got a lot of pollen in
got
my
your,
brain.
in your ears.
Deep too.
It's a dumb joke. It's been around. I think I first heard it in elementary school, which is like,
I wouldn't. I mean, I didn't get it now, so I wasn't going to get it. 35 years ago.
yeah.
So,
Well,
I
so
know.
anyway.
There's a little hope for me.
The Dubliners is a great short story collection. A lot of people say it's like the beginning of modern short story.
When was it?
Actually,
Should we start with it, or should we end with it?
I think we should start with it.
Okay. When was it written?
I
Can you give me
have the book right here.
Okay.
Let
We're
me
allowed to
look.
check that. It's not a phone.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the modernist period, which is generally considered to be between the 2 world wars.
Okay.
So it was also, I was just being in Dublin, I found out that it was, he had a real hard time publishing it because it was considered obscene.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to some of that obscenity, which doesn't seem particularly obscene in today's culture.
And there's
but,
no kids, so we can talk all about
oh,
it.
yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Definitely some kitty diddling
Yeah.
kind of going on.
Wow. Way to like.
Do you want me to, you didn't want me
mean,
to spoil the whole, we'll see. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
All right.
And also, they should also read the story.
And
It's
which
called-
story was it?
It's called An Encounter. And then we're going to compare that to a contemporary short story. It's a few years old, but it's this period by an Irish writer named Klaire Keegan, which Joe recommended to me. And I've read several of her stories, and I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about Klaire Keegan in the pantheon of great literature. But this is her first story collection. It's called Antarctica, the collection is, and the story is called Antarctica.
Yep.
And my position is that these stories are kind of the same story, but taken to very different
They're
extremes.
exactly the same, only different.
Yes.
Nice. Got it.
And I'm not going to spoil Antarctica because I feel like more a lot of readers may not have read that one. But anyway, and also you already chastised me once about spoiling too fast. So
I mean,
kitty diddling. I just like saying that.
And we don't mean cats.
rolls off the tongue. The first time I heard it was when there was this guy on
kitty diddling
on PBS, Public Broadcasting Services or whatever, and there was a guy, the Frugal Gourmet, and I was in college and we would watch the Frugal Gourmet. He was a cooking show.
Okay,
and he was just a real nerdy guy and a balding guy. Always had the apron on and sort of cooking from his kitchen, and not a real charismatic character in the early food shows.
Yeah,
they weren't as high tech or production value. It was just some guy, especially public broadcasting. And then the show just totally disappeared. So me and my buddy in college, we would watch it ironically, as college undergrads do. They find,
we used to watch The Price is Right, Showcase Showdown.
Totally that kind of thing. And we would watch The Frugal Gourmet. But also we would learn how to cook because we're living on our own, and you have
no idea how to do anything.
Kind of have to learn stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he disappeared, and my buddy Brett, I'll name check Brett Harmony.
Well, that's a good name.
It is. He's a singer of a band too called the Champion Hillbillies.
Nice.
In London.
All right. Wow.
London. He's an American in London.
Wow.
And married his English girlfriend, now wife, Bunny Harmony.
Also a great name.
I know. Aren't this family is too much. They're not real.
No.
They're not real. I made them up.
Nobody's named Bunny.
I don't think it's her real. Helen is her real name.
Oh, that makes me feel better.
Bunny is how she is called. So but Brett just said, "Oh, did you hear about the Frugal Gourmet?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Kitty diddling," and I guess he had this like foundation for kids to come, and he would teach them how to cook, and they were like underprivileged kids, and he would take them up to the lake house, and then all of a sudden he was just gone. And in those days, it wasn't cancellation; he was just erased from all existence in a way. Like
not arrested.
He probably, I don't know what happened. It was before internet. So you have to kind of really find the story in a newspaper somewhere. Yeah. And I just never did. But he probably, I don't know all of our listeners out there, you can write in and tell us.
Yeah. We don't have access to the internet outside.
I just don't feel like Googling that.
No, we shouldn't.
Seems a little, I don't know.
You almost said morbid.
I didn't almost say morbid. I didn't know what to say. But
what was the other word that you made up already today?
Something Lee.
Yeah, it was not a Lee. I don't remember now.
It was something Lee.
We'll have to rewind and use it later.
Yeah. Your beer's already done. Look
I know.
At you chugging it.
I know.
Chugging.
I'm thirsty.
Keep on drinking.
So,
man.
So let's talk about this this particular story and
encounter.
An encounter. And so we kind of open with and I want to ask you about short stories because the stage is set really fast, right?
Yeah.
And I think pretty effectively where we established this is probably a kid, 10, 11 maybe, still playing, like that they're Indians and they're trying to they play with the older kids, but
so
they're
not
reading
big enough. These American. So it takes place in Dublin, and what's fun about these stories is that there's little maps of Dublin.
Yeah.
In my version, which I think is probably a copy of the original.
It was not in the audiobook.
I guess not. And then it shows the paths of all the characters in all the stories. And being someone who's fairly,
Are you
aware.
Fluent in Dublin?
A little bit. This one, actually, I haven't been to this area because it was really far east all the way to the edge of the city beyond where I was hanging out. But most of them, anyway.
I've been to the airport.
Yeah, okay.
Great airport.
It's okay. It's not that close to the city as most
I'm
airports
okay with
are.
that for what I needed it for, but I would like to go see the city.
You should. It's a good city. But so anyway, they're in a private school, like a fancy boys' school with priests, and all the boys start reading these American magazines, like
comic books? I
think they're just like prose stories, maybe with some pictures.
Yeah.
But it's like the Apache Chief is one of them or something
Yeah.
like that, and they start playing this game, this cowboy game, and then the older kid that introduced them to it, Dylan, is that his name? Dylan?
Leo Dillon.
Leo Dylan is his little brother.
Oh.
He's the bigger brother is the one that.
I don't know. Dylan?
And he
I don't
is.
know. I don't have it written down.
I can find it here. But he is a little bit too rough for the narrator. And so pretty early on, we start learning that the narrator is actually kind of like one of the goody two-shoes kids, but he wants to kind of be tougher.
He wants to be kind of
than he
a
is.
baddie.
Well, and he says that he wants to escape. It wasn't really... He actually likes detective stories better than the cowboy and Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, the detective story is like figuring out the crime. It's more like puzzle solving.
Catching the bad guys.
Yeah. And the cowboys and Indians is just more unleashed chaos. Like running around, whooping.
Yeah.
And...
he didn't like that the older Dylan boy, that he kind of did that.
Joe Dylan.
Yeah, okay.
Who introduced us to the Wild West.
Yeah.
And eventually Leo Dylan, the little brother, who's a chubby boy, gets caught with the pamphlets.
Yeah.
And the priest goes, "Oh, well, you want to read this instead of Roman history?" And of course, you're like, "Of course."
Yeah.
And so that kind of dampens the whole like playing cowboys and Indians thing, especially for the narrator, who's never named, I don't think.
He's not.
And he, so that's the setup.
He gets a fake name.
He does. Mm-hmm. I forget what the fake name is.
I know it. Smith.
What is it?
Smith.
Smith and Murphy.
Smith and Murphy.
So he especially is this rule follower. Like, he doesn't want to do it anymore after the priests catch him. But he decides intellectually, right?
Yeah.
In the way that people like that do that, you're putting that beer away from yourself.
I am.
So you can drink the whole thing, man.
I probably will.
Because I don't know why. I'm talking so much. That's why I'm not drinking.
No. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Still.
See, glug, glug, glug. It's a pain relief, right?
Yeah.
All right, so
much pain.
So the narrator, the goody two-shoes kid,
Yeah.
he arranges a day to ditch school.
Yeah.
Because he intellectualizes. He goes, "Well, I realize that you don't have adventures when you stay home, and so I needed to do something before summer came."
Yep.
And so he gets two of his buddies, Mahoney,
I'll jump in on that in a minute.
And then Leo.
Yeah.
Feckless Leo, the chubby kid, to ditch school, and they're going to spend the day walking to the port and having an adventure, essentially, while they're supposed to be in school.
And Leo then ditches ditching school and doesn't go.
Leo just doesn't show
what
up.
What a fucker.
Yeah, well, they all give money, and he's like, "Well, what should we do with this money?"
Yeah.
And Mahoney shows himself right off the bat. He's different from the narrator.
Yeah.
He's a tough boy.
He is.
He likes to play wild.
Yeah.
He likes to like shoot at like animals.
He's got his catapult, which is a
slingshot. Yeah, and he wants to shoot.
He's modified it too, which I was like, that kid's gonna modify cars when he gets older.
Oh yeah, he's that kind of kid, and he's just like, no, he doesn't get to keep his sixpence, man.
No,
that's
love
our.
That.
Yeah, he's like, no, he forfeited it.
I wanted to be that kid, and I was not that kid.
And this is exactly like the narrator is. Yeah. He wants to be more like Mahoney.
Okay, wait, time out. I listened to this. The audiobook was read by Chris O'Dowd, who I love in so many different things.
Oh, yeah.
And he pronounces it Mahoney.
Mahoney?
Yeah.
All right.
It's
probably Irish.
And for our Irish folks that are out there that are going to listen, because this is, of course.
They have a different word for everything.
Yeah. But I didn't know that, for us, it's Mahoney. So we're going to keep saying Mahoney. But I want to point out that I did hear it, and that Chris O'Dowd was genius on this.
Awesome.
I loved it. I want to listen
man.
to more of it. He is amazing.
Read, listen to the whole book. It's wonderful.
There's series that we may need to talk about, which is a Chris O'Dowd series called Moon Boy, which
right.
is brilliant.
I don't know it.
Basically about him growing up. And then the IT Crowd, and
I love it.
the other one is the one on Apple TV right now, the Big Door Prize.
All right.
Which they're all fantastic. He's great in everything he does. Anyway, shout out to him.
It's Chris Dowd or
O'Dowd.
O'Dowd.
Yeah.
I know him. So
amazing.
name check Chris
Amazing.
O'Dowd.
Biggest
in
name
case
that's been on any of the
Chris,
audiobooks.
if you're listening, call the pod. You can come
Surely
on whenever you want.
He's listening.
As long as
Yeah.
we have space.
Yeah. Right.
You know.
We're booked out. We might kind of a big deal.
I think he would really like the Riverview Roadhouse and this lovely view of the Mississippi River. I don't think the English really get much of that, or the Irish. They get
You
same
didn't.
thing. The same.
Oh no!
Well,
I
our
made that mistake once, by the way.
I know you're not supposed to do that.
I know.
So while I was in Ireland, the not the World Cup, the Euro Cup, and they wanted England to lose so badly.
Well, they did to
And
Spain.
They did. They did.
Thank you. Yep.
But they won the semi whatever.
Yeah.
And that was a real sad day for the Irish. But
There's a
they got
couple
over it.
players that play for England that have played for Ireland before.
Yeah.
Declan Rice and I forget who else. Jack Grealish, maybe Grealish. The fact that I know that, I know. Declan
I will
Rice for sure.
take your word for it.
Yeah.
Now I don't know that stuff, but
Okay, so we're back to
so the kids decide to ditch, and Leo
they're just
bails,
like hanging out, but
and they do a long walk, and they go along the River Liffey,
and
that's how you pronounce it.
And Mahoney goes chasing after a cat.
Yeah.
And he
Before
doesn't get
that,
it.
they attack a bunch of little kids.
They do. Well, the little kids attack them.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They throw
And-
stones at them.
And the narrator wants to go after. No,
Because
Mahoney
that-
wants to go after him, and the narrator's like,
They're too little.
"Bro, they're too small."
And then the kids call them
Swaddlers.
swaddlers,
Yeah, because they
which
think
means Protestants.
yeah, they think they're Protestants
Because Mahoney has a cricket,
and dark skin.
his dark skin and cricket symbol. I
Is
don't
that
know
a
what that
thing?
means.
I
but
don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I figured it was something.
and we don't have Google, so we're not going to look it up.
Yeah, we don't need to look it
Yeah.
up. And so they keep walking, and not a lot happens, but it's their ditching school, and they watch these container, like a ship
Yeah.
loading planks or something.
To me, it was like a beautiful spring day. They're outside. They're playing hooky. You know, it brought me back to my senior year in high school, which is like the only time I ever played hooky, which was on senior skip day, and my mother called me in sick.
Aw.
That's not hooky.
Aw.
So these guys are more badass than me, and they're out there
We don't
just
want
like
you to get
enjoying
in
the
trouble,
day.
Stevie.
Right, and that's what everybody did. It's so stupid. So
You guys are good boys.
it reminded me of, you know, like I went to a Cubs game. The weather was perfect. We smoked cigars in the bleachers. That was before, you know, everything was illegal. 'Cause
Wow.
Now you definitely can't do that. And so, part of me like connected. Oh yeah, all right, you know. And then they encounter somebody.
Wait, I want to talk a little bit about the one thing while they're watching the Norwegian ship just unloading or loading planks or something. He was looking around for Norwegians with green eyes. And he
Yes.
goes, and then the text said, "I had some kind of mistaken notion, ... And it didn't ever say what that notion was. So anyway, we could just put a pin in that, this green eye thing.
Yeah,
And
'cause it does come up.
and then we move on, and they eat some snacks. And it's funny, there's only like 4 people in the bar, but they're making
They're good. and
enough
loud.
noise.
It's pretty great.
Yes, they're lively.
Yeah.
Not that I'm
lively.
complaining.
Yeah. Okay, so.
And then
Wow.
they just get to the beach, essentially, or the shore. It's kind of more of an industrial sort of scene. And they're just sitting there, and they decide they're not going to make it all the way to the place they were going to go, which is
No,
called
they're tired.
Pigeon House or something, which is
Yeah.
a old fort
Got
sort
some
of deal.
lemonade.
And then this guy walks by them, and he's just dodgy AF, you know. He just walks by kind of slowly, and then walks by and then kind of comes back to them in this really awkward way.
Yeah.
He's an old guy.
Right.
And he starts talking to these boys.
Yeah.
And
kind of oddball questions.
Yeah, strange questions. And he is asking them if he's asking if they have
girlfriends.
sweethearts.
Yeah.
Do you have a sweetheart? He goes,
Yeah.
no, I don't have a sweetheart. And the other one's, yeah, I got
How many?
How many? Oh, yeah. I had plenty of sweethearts. I had all kinds of sweethearts and blah, blah, blah. And then the guy goes away.
Yeah. Well,
And
he's talking about he's talking about the girls with their hair and their soft
Oh, how
hands.
soft they are. But he also says something like he sounded like he was rehearsing something he had memorized.
Right.
And they're soft hair and they're nice hands or something like that.
Right.
And then he walks away.
Yeah.
And then Mahoney's like, say,
What's he doing?
look what he's doing. And I say,
He says it a couple times.
he's a queer old josser.
Yeah.
And so in my version of Dubliners, which is the Barnes & Noble Classic series,
Of course.
there's a little footnote that said that queer is used here both as an intentional pun of it was used widely in those days to be odd or strange like that, but that usage of being homosexual did exist back then too. So it was both those things, and I love calling him a josser, which just means simpleton.
Maybe a tosser.
It sounds like
better.
tosser.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just ask what is probably the obvious. What was he up to?
Wow, he was wanking.
Yeah, he's just like beating off.
Yeah.
Like after talking to these boys, and he's in public, and
Yeah.
they're just like,
So you
okay.
said this was not, this was considered kind of filthy reading.
yeah, it doesn't really go into detail, but
No, it really doesn't.
but it's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And then afterward, he comes back
Yeah.
and then Mahoney takes off.
He takes off. Before he comes back, that's when the narrator goes, look, if he comes back, you're Murphy and I'm Smith.
Yeah.
And
So he knows something's wrong,
Yes.
but not
They
enough
don't
to just get up and leave.
leave.
Yeah. I think you're just scared when you're a kid. You're like
Yeah.
intimidated by
I would agree.
adults.
Yeah.
And they also didn't get the education about this stuff that we do. I think kids today are super focused and like paranoid about. I mean, I think kids even just like call grown-ups pedos and stuff like just as just as a general insult because they're so aware of that now.
Yeah, that's what I mean is
What do you think about? We all know the Catholic Church and the brothers and all that kind of business. There's a lot of this kind of business going on within the church. Of course.
That was actually in the news recently, in Ireland in particular.
Yeah. Oof. I wonder in the context of these boys being in a Catholic school and all these brothers, and then the subject is this. Now, this guy isn't one of them, but it feels like it's adjacent in a way where it's in the air or something,
I would agree.
So, anyway, the guy comes back and Mahoney gets up and he chases the cat.
He does.
So he sees the cat,
whoa,
and he got to get the cat.
There's a cat.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, and he chases the cat away. And so our narrator...
He's chasing after the cat, and now we're left alone with the creep.
Yeah, and then the narrator, the creep, here's where I think it gets especially creepy. The narrator figures the situation, the creep figures out the situation perfectly. He goes, he starts talking about all the books he's read.
Yeah.
And then the boy's like, oh, I like to read books. And he goes, oh, I was just like you. Or I'm like you. You're like me. And he goes, well, your friend, he's a rough boy.
Yeah.
He doesn't read much, I bet. He likes games, doesn't he? Which he means sports.
Yeah.
And he's got it. I think these predator types, they're really good at figuring out people.
The situation, like that.
I think so. They know, especially when they see a weakness, and he sees the weakness in the narrator that he's a good timid boy.
Yeah.
He's too embarrassed to just say, "Hey, creep, get away from me," and run away.
From me.
He's trying to be polite, even though he knows this is wrong. And Mahoney's off chasing a cat. I don't know. Should we put that the crudest kind of symbolism that he's off chasing a cat while he's leaving his buddy? I didn't think about that.
Wingman. No wingman at all.
No. And so the guy starts getting really, really creepy now that.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Growing up so when you were in junior high school, did you move a lot then? You didn't. You did?
I moved a ton up until junior high, until sixth grade, and then I stuck around from sixth grade through high school in one place.
Now, did you know any of the local pervs, like who they were and who to stay away from?
That's an interesting question, and
the only kind I ask.
I remember my dad telling me about a guy who hung around the state beach, but I didn't live at the beach with him. But when I visited, they just called him Wiener Man. And he would hang around and beat off on the beach, and people just called him Wiener Man.
That's one of the ways you get called Wiener Man. The other is by saying that the river's really deep.
Yeah, well, there's that, yeah. I'm glad that you good callback.
You gotta like that.
Yeah.
So you said I had to be funnier in our meeting episode.
You're checking all the boxes. You come from the corporate world, don't you? You get performance reviews, and you go, okay, I'm gonna have to hit. Wow, I didn't know that I could like control you this way. Yeah. I could just figure out who do I want.
It takes
Steve
a few months in advance.
Oh, I know. It's not immediate.
Set me in a direction.
Yeah. So it feels like you have a story behind
Maxwell.
this.
Yeah, Maxwell. I didn't know.
Everybody
his name,
knew
but
he was
He was
creep.
just creepy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anything ever happened, but everybody knew he was icky.
There's a guy named great poet died recently named Gerald Stern.
Okay.
Won all the Pulitzer National Book Award. I don't remember exactly what, but he's a big time international star, but also really funny. And there was this story that took place between different people. Like one friend called another, and the guy's like, "I can't talk right now. I'm there's like something really weird going on." No, Gerald called a friend of his, and the guy was like, "Hey, I was just walking down the street, and I looked over, and my friend's, like one of our neighbors' kid was in the yard fucking his dog in the backyard, and I'm talking to my wife. We're trying to figure out, should we call somebody? Like, what's going on?"
Oh, man.
And Gerald Stern said, "In this weather?" It was winter. Like,
All right, that's pretty good. All right.
Anyway.
Well, so our narrator starts to get a little.
So wait, how the guy goes in? He's like, "Yeah, naughty boys that have sweethearts, they need to get do the pre-spank you. Do they whip? Oh, I'd like to whip a boy like that." And he starts getting all red-faced and getting off on this whipping these boys, and anybody like a rough boy like your friend, he needs a good whipping, and I'd love nothing more than to.
He does say all of this,
and he goes wild, man, and it's like, oh, this is really scary.
Yeah,
this is getting really. And the narrator is absolutely aware, and then he stands up to leave, but doesn't do it but he acts casual, like he's just deciding to leave,
walking over
and not leaving because he's scared.
Right.
And then he calls his friend, Murphy.
Yeah.
Murphy. And, of course, the kid doesn't remember at first that was the game. Yeah. And then he sees him, and he comes running. Running to, protect him.
But, what is he, just, oh, right. There's a creep.
I think it was more like his friend is calling in reinforcements. He's the guy that wants to play Cowboys and Indians, and when somebody on your team calls for reinforcements, I think he was just genuinely just chasing the cat. I don't think he even thought about it.
I would agree he wasn't thinking about it at all.
And then he sees that his friend is distressed, and he comes running to help protect him, and he goes, "And that made me feel guilty." Should I read the last line?
You should.
I need to get some pince-nez. I think I've said that before, but
I don't even know what that is.
It's they're old-fashioned glasses that don't have the arms. They just
Yes.
balance on your nose.
Oh, yeah.
Because putting these reading glasses. Okay. Murphy. My voice had an accent of forced bravery in it, and I was ashamed of my paltry stratagem. I love that he uses words
The
like
plural.
stratagem. He's just
Yeah.
all... I had to call the name again before Mahoney saw me and hallooed in answer. Hallooed in answer. How my heart beat as he came running across the field to me. He ran as if to bring aid, and I was penitent, for in my heart I had always despised him a little.
It was great. I really
It's a
enjoyed
great
this
little
one.
twist at the end.
Yeah.
And then it makes you wonder, wait, why did he despise him? Why do you think?
Because he wasn't worried about it.
I think he had always despised him, though.
Okay.
Like all the years he's known him.
I think our narrator would like to be more carefree than he is.
Well, what I think, I think that's true. What does the smart kid...
I'm going to finish this beer.
What does the
I'll
smart
just drink it
kid,
straight out of the
the
pitcher.
smart, brainy kid think of the popular, seemingly brainless jock? Don't they despise them a little? They're envious of them, but they also don't
It's going over there.
like them, right? Don't you feel like... I feel like the narrator feels superior toward this jock, this dumb jock, essentially. He's the book kid. You're not buying...
No, because, I mean, I'm thinking of my own experience, though, where that was like, there was mixing of, social classes where you could be both smart and a jock or, but there was multiple, it got complicated later.
Yeah. Maybe you're just that much younger to where I think in my high school we were pretty It was very Breakfast Club.
Really?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
You were in one
I was
group or
not.
another,
No.
and there were people that could move from group to group, kind of like our main character in what is that? The Linklater movie, the party one. What the heck is that one?
The party one.
Yeah, his most famous Richard Linklater film that we covered in Not Everybody Wants Some, but
Dazed and Confused?
Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
So the main character in Dazed and Confused is a jock who hangs out with the stoners.
Right.
But he's unusual.
Okay.
So anyway, I really did think that he despised the kid who acted and didn't think. Because he's a thinker who can't act. And all of a sudden, he's getting help from this guy who would come to rescue him in a pinch. And it's complicated, like that he envies
the last
him.
line was out of, like, the angst of the situation, and then he always despised him a little. Like, I've always hated that kid.
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
I think it's that, but you can also see that he didn't really respect him deep. I think it's a moment of honesty because he wants to be like those kids.
He does.
And he never says anything bad about Mahoney throughout the rest of the story, but everything Mahoney wants to do, the narrator doesn't want to do. He wants to go attack the kids. He's like, no, let's not do it.
Yeah.
He wants to shoot at the cat, and the narrator doesn't shoot cats.
Yeah.
Everything, and then finally at the end it comes, the difference between them is laid stark by, the fact that one of them is kind of brave about the whole thing, and the other one is terrified.
Sitting there with the pervert.
He's stuck there with him because he's too scared to get up and
Right.
leave,
Yeah.
essentially.
All right.
So, and assumingly the kids are going to get away, and it isn't a... by the way, I did ditch school pretty elaborately once.
You did?
I don't know how... I hope the story will be interesting. I'll try to give a quick...
And that the statute of limitations is good? That they can't come back and make sure you... They're going to say you didn't actually graduate high school, Kelly Daniels?
That would be interesting if, they took away my high school degree.
Yeah.
Which, does that mean all the other degrees also fall down a notch? So my PhD becomes my master's, and
I
my
think
master's
so.
becomes a...
Or that none of them count, and it's like
have to
Billy
start
Madison. Yeah.
Yeah. But you almost
Film.
need like a jack, like a car jack, to go in and then jack up the whole stack
Keep
and then
it-
shove that
Yeah.
extra class in,
Yeah.
which seems difficult but could be done.
Should be done.
So here's what happened. A friend of mine my friend group all just discovered alcohol drinking. And when somebody's parents would go away for the weekend, that meant there's like a massive party full of alcohol.
Yep.
And we had Bob Reefer. I mentioned him before, I think. Maybe, I don't know when and where, but Reefer was a madman. He lived way out in the orange groves.
Uh-huh.
So away from town. So he had to literally take the short bus into... And so he had to lure people out to him. So he would do all these crazy things.
You said lure after we talked about a
He wasn't a
pedo.
I don't think it was. Yeah, maybe with the girls and stuff. He wasn't. Anyway, we were high school kids or junior, like 9th grade, kind of when this was going on. So, this one guy named Joe, his parents were gone.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Joe. I knew who it was. It was Dan. He may not want me to say his last name, and I can't remember it, so I'm not going to say it.
Dan Mahoney.
Dan Mahoney. No, Murphy.
Dan Murphy. God, or Smith.
Come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dan's parents were away, and there was going to be a big party, and then Reefer, way out in the orange groves, got some homeless guy to buy him just a shitload of booze.
Yeah.
So,
we
and the
should call it
booze...
Hey Mistering the beer.
Oh, okay.
Hey, mister, help me out.
And the booze was all stashed in the orange grove somewhere. So we needed to get it from way out of town to the party spot in town. Like far away, like an all-day walk there and back. It's like Stand By Me.
A walk?
Oh, yeah. We were in 9th grade, and we didn't have any cars.
You were basically in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, pretty much. And so... they took roll to the office in second period.
Yeah.
That's when they called your parents or not. So we had to go through first and second period and then ditch. So we took off, me, Reefer, and his friend Joe. And we go, and it's this whole Stand By Me thing. We're going through town, and at one point we see a cop and a junior high track team was running the mile. And we just started running with them.
Fantastic.
And so the cop would leave us alone, and then we get to the edge of town, and we have to walk through one of those like makeshift trash dumps where people just throw trash in the end of the road. Yeah. We went through that, and then we got to this thing called the Wash. California, you have these vast sandy areas that are kind of almost nothing, but when the winter runoff from the mountains came down, they would become actual rivers.
Okay.
So there'd be like 3 or 4 like rivulets rather than one big river.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Wash. I don't even know what the river's name is, but it just so happened that there was a lot of snow in the mountains. They were melting, and there was actually a raging kind of river.
Oh, no.
So we get there, and we're trying to walk across it, like knee deep, and we just get pulled in. Me and I swim for the far shore, and these other 2 guys, I remember Reefer had a cast on his arm. He somehow broke his hand. And so I swam across, and I'm on the opposite side of the river, and those guys are on the far side. And then Reefer is not somebody who will ever be outdone by anybody. And he goes, oh, why didn't I think of that? And he just dives in head first. It's shallow, too. And he swims across, and then Joe's like, nah, man, I'm going to walk down to the bridge.
There's a bridge.
It's kind of like a mile away, though.
Huh.
And so Joe lives out in the boonies with Reefer.
Yeah.
And Joe is just a more timid guy, kind of like our narrator here. And he goes, no, I'm not going to swim across.
Did he run into a pervert?
And he's so Reefer is so mad at his friend. He feels so humiliated by him that he starts throwing rocks at him, and he drives him off.
It's straight out of the story.
Isn't that weird? And so
Does
walk.
Joe leave?
He goes down to the bridge and eventually meets. So we go down and we get the booze, and it's just so much booze, and we do a shot of tequila.
As one does.
In the orange groves. And for all this, discovering alcohol, I was not a boozer. It was disgusting, taking a big gulp of hot tequila, when you're 13 years old or whatever.
Oh, God, yeah.
I was probably 14.
14.
It was nasty, but smooth. And we carried all the booze back, and Joe eventually showed up. It wasn't really that big a deal.
What did you carry it in?
Backpacks. We all had backpacks, and we were able to
Nobody needs books.
Fill. Yeah, and so we carried it all back, and then I think that's what we did, and then dropped it off at the house. And anyway, that was
Young
the end
Kelly
of it.
Daniels did not need books.
Yeah.
That changed a lot.
Yeah, I didn't need. Yeah. Oh no, the books were definitely stashed. We also had like.
Did you hide them by the bridge like our boys in the book and the story?
Maybe so. I don't remember, but we did have security guards in the high school, so it was
Okay.
hard to. And one of my favorite teachers would call them. He would hire kids to sneak off campus to buy him sweets.
Oh yeah.
He was like this hugely fat guy, Mr. Hobbs. Good old Mr.
yeah,
Hobbs. I
well.
loved him so much. But he would call him the Gestapo. He's like, and he was a black man, and he was on like the city council, and it was old school.
Yeah.
And he would tell us stories. He's like, who's going to buy me some candy bars? And
You could like hand over the.
he would always choose like a kid of nowadays we would say kid of color. He would never choose a white guy. He's like, you white kids, you can't escape. You guys don't know how to get away from the cops. He was like full on profiling people.
I like it.
But he was awesome. It was.
It's probably not wrong, at least in the.
And he's like, all right, Rudy Aguilar, you're gonna get. Hey, you get caught by the Gestapo. I do not know you.
I like that.
And he would let him keep the change. And
like
it was great.
Oh, that's kind of good.
So anyway, that's the story. And then the party was, everybody got hammered and threw up and
Oh, those are the days.
those kind of parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't know how to drink really.
No.
So should
Should we talk about Antarctica?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should.
All right. So Klaire Keegan.
That's her name.
Yeah.
Don't wear it out.
Yeah, I will not. Where does the story take place? Where are
Now
we?
that one's in England. So
It
she's
is.
an Irish woman, but he got her MFA, I believe.
And they're not the same place.
in New Orleans.
For the American listeners, the Ireland and England are not the
No,
same.
they're different subtly.
Yes.
They both
Yeah.
have pubs.
They do. Yeah. I've never been
they
really
both
to
have-
Ireland, unfortunately. I'll fix that.
You said the airport.
Airport was awesome. And
Dublin.
there's U.S. Customs and Immigration in the airport, which is amazing
Yep.
for when you come back. So, and Aer Lingus is awesome because everybody's super friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of the Irish are super friendly. And
Yeah.
it's
amazing.
Everybody says it, but it's true. And
It's totally true.
Ireland is absolutely wonderful.
I would know from being on the airplanes in the airport.
You would really like going through the country and
Yeah.
popping
gonna
in
do
at
it.
pubs and all
We're
that.
going to do it.
Yeah. So,
So-
we're in England, and we have somebody.
Why
who,
is
what's
she
the
traveling?
what's the married character named?
Oh, God.
The
I
narrator.
have nothing written on this one.
Her name is never mentioned. She is called the happily married woman.
Well, but she's maybe not happily married.
I think that's the irony, right?
Right.
It's
Because immediately within like the first, I'm going to guess
Well,
2 pages, she's
Well,
looking for somebody to hook up.
The happily married woman always, whenever she left town or whatever, she always wondered what it would be like to sleep with another man.
Yeah.
And so this time she agreed.
I felt like she had done this before.
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I think she just always wanted to, but this time she was
This
actually
sounds like a whore I know,
going
but
to.
I won't go into details.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So she is, and she checks into the hotel. She has a couple drinks at the hotel bar. It's
Yeah.
boring, but she just goes to bed. The next day she goes shopping.
Yeah.
And here we get a little bit of characterization. What she said about she's determined to have this affair. She goes, she assumed it would be disappointing. So that's kind of how she is, right? She's just bored.
Yeah.
And everything is kind of boring. And she never, there's no moral quandary about
Zero.
should I feel bad about cheating
None.
on my it's like total sociopath, like it doesn't even exist.
She talks to him, the husband, at one point.
And there's absolutely so anyway, let's do it. So she goes to the hotel. The next day she goes shopping. Then she goes to a bar, and she goes to the bad part of town, and she goes to a bar that used to be a prison. It was
Right.
converted, and she immediately meets this guy.
Yes.
Oh no, she buys gifts for her kids and her
Right.
and her husband, for her family. I think
Spoiler alert, they're never going to get him.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Probably not.
We don't know.
Unless
it's a short story.
Unless that guy brings it to him.
Right.
So she gets for her son an electric razor because she said she wanted to get them. She's reading a book which she was bored by because it was predictable. So everything about her is like disappointing and boring. And she wanted to buy her family gifts they wouldn't expect. So she's craving. She's kind of like our characters in the last one.
An 11-year-old kid's never going to expect an electric razor.
No.
That's true.
She gets an electric razor.
How old he is.
She gets a atlas for her daughter, which is almost this like, let's.
A useless gift?
What she's hoping for her daughter is for her to travel, is to get out. Like,
right.
She's the bored housewife who is like, needs to get. She just, her life is not working for her.
That's what so she's living. She's like projecting.
She's projecting onto her daughter, and then her husband. She gets him a watch with a plain white face.
Right. He's boring.
So that's him.
Yeah.
He's got a plain white face.
He does.
He's just anybody. So then she goes to the bar that used to be a prison.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a grim.
I guess I missed that part. So
What
all right.
part?
That it was a prison, but
that is, and then she meets. Do you want to describe the guy she meets, or do you
not
remember?
really.
Yeah.
Mostly because I don't remember.
This is where
I'll drink more beer.
Yes, drink beer. This is where the audio book is letting you down, man.
It is. I am not paying that much attention to that one. This one,
you didn't like it that much?
Okay. Full disclosure, that you and I had actually texted about this.
Yeah.
Where we gave.
We were not gonna listen. Talk about this one.
That we weren't going to talk about it, right? Because
Yeah.
we weren't like. I think I liked it more than you.
I like it more now that I'm talking about it, or at least I'm pretending to.
Okay.
I felt like my assessment of it is I like stories that I feel like it's got characters I can relate to and recognize as legitimate humans. I feel like this is a story with not human characters. She did not seem like anybody that
She did not seem human. It felt empty, is what I said.
Yeah.
But
it seemed like a plot story, not a character story, and it seemed kind of like sensational in the way that the story we just read seemed like a real childhood story where it would be this terrifying thing that happened to you when you were 12.
I was going with the take that she was sort of a sociopath.
She seems like it.
She does. And your take was that let's squeeze the rest of that picture out into there. Oh, there we go. Your take was that, and what you had texted me was you felt like it was read a little like a Stephen King novel.
I like Stephen King, by the way, but
Same.
I felt like it was all about the plot and not about and Stephen King stories. I mean, Stand By Me is based on the body, which is anyway.
I've never seen it.
It felt like it's a good movie. I don't know, it's fine. I didn't feel like it was like serious literature in the way that I was expecting of a serious literati, but. This is like one story. It's her first collection.
Yeah.
I've read a bunch of other stories. They're quite subtle.
Yeah.
And hey, you folks want to sit here, and they're
going outside. All right.
Going outside. I was using the extra table for our detritus, which is not. You don't want to do that in the bar.
Detritus. Look at you.
I'm a English professor, man. I mean,
I know you like. Later.
Yeah.
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 That's a
you know what it
move
means
right there.
You know what? Detritus.
No,
it's just like
shit.
scraps.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just like trash. Yeah. It's just like scattered trash or whatever, something like that.
Okay, where were we?
This is
complicated.
Anyway, you didn't love the story, or we didn't put as much. So anyway, we're at the guy. We're at the guy. He's got, as opposed to her husband's plain white face, or at least implied.
Yeah.
He has a red face.
Yeah.
And he wears a Hawaiian shirt, which is very Hunter S. Thompson, and a gold chain.
Love it.
And you just see this guy, right?
Yeah.
And he is quite a talker, is what she
He is.
says. And so they start talking and then getting hammered.
Yeah.
So she said she had never been drunk like this before. Now, I have this. I borrowed this book from Professor McDowell.
Yeah.
And I had all his underlinings, which is always funny because I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I wouldn't have underlined that one, but you get a sense into somebody's like. But he wrote. So she goes to the bathroom, and he writes roofie.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I was thinking that.
Did she get roofied? You
I think so.
But
because spoiler alert,
I don't know that much about roofies.
It happens later as well.
I don't know what happens about roofies, but I think it's like you get roofied and then you pass out and then the person takes you home and then. But I don't because she was completely like talking and went over and took a bath and then he made dinner and she's commenting on it and she did not seem roofied at all. She seemed like pleasantly drunk, not like passed out.
That was my initial thought when it came up at the bar. It was like she's gotten something else.
Yeah. I think she just got drunk. I think she just drank more than it said wasn't it? Maybe he did drug her in some way, but she seemed like. But that takes away the agency because she's obviously decided to do it and wanted to do it, and she had a chance to, and she came back to do it a second time when she was completely sober.
Yes.
So the idea that this was that she was a victim in this way, at least at the beginning.
She's there for work, right?
No, she's there to shop. She's doing Christmas shopping for her family. She's going into this. You imagine it's London, and they live in some small excerpt.
Really.
What?
She's not doing anything except for him, really.
Yeah. Well, she went shopping and bought gifts for her family, which is something she did.
Pay more attention then, because I was like, okay, I think she's working. I don't know.
No. It said right at the beginning that she was going there for shopping, and that's just something she would do. And they live outside of the city.
I listened to the other one twice. This one I didn't.
All right.
It shows.
Okay. Hey, Steve. Well, I didn't read 1984. So
I know.
I guess it's equal.
It is.
You know?
Wait, I didn't read any of them yet, really. I mean,
well, you listen to them. Yeah, but you listen and you like take notes and you think about it.
Yeah.
So
then there's like this bout of,
So they go to the market. It's actually kind of a nice date. He goes, "Hey, come to my place. I'll make you dinner." And she goes, "Okay."
Yeah.
And they go to the market and he gets trout. He gets some fish.
Yeah.
And he gets all kinds of like some nice bread, different, and it's very bougie, kind of like awesome, sort of like. And they go, and he puts her in the bathtub. He has and his house is kind of shabby, and there's nothing in it whatsoever.
Right.
It just is. Everything is a red flag about this guy. One after another. So, and then there's he talks about the deaf lady that lives below him. And
that's helpful when you're, serial killer, allegedly.
And she takes a shower, or she lounges in the bath, and they have sex, and she sort of doesn't feel like his body was not beautiful, but she likes it. Yeah. She has a good time, and then they have dinner, and it's like a really good dinner, and she goes, "I could live like this forever. I could just stay drunk forever."
Yeah.
That's what she says. Then she falls asleep. She gets up in the morning and she goes back to the hotel.
We left out where they're watching the documentary.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
That she brings up a documentary that she's watching about, she's sitting there kind of watching TV about Antarctica.
That's right.
And she talks about how she had heard that, if you go to hell, then it's always like your own personal hell, like crafted just for you.
Right.
And hers would be that she's cold.
Yeah, frozen.
Yeah.
And like Antarctica, and it said you would feel nothing.
Yeah.
And here's how I take that.
Okay.
I take it that she already is in her own personal hell because she feels nothing. Like, she constantly,
Okay.
it says she never thought of her husband. She never thinks of her kids.
Right.
No, multiple times throughout the story that's brought up, and it doesn't matter.
She has no emotion.
She
about
has
it
no
anyway.
emotion about
Yeah,
anything. And she doesn't even have any emotion about this guy. It's just that it's amusing. It's
Did you
different.
think about what your own personal hell would be?
No, I didn't. What about yours?
There's two. Because
Yeah.
one of them, I had a discussion with somebody about this a long time ago. Bobby Hunley. I don't know why I named it twice, but I did. We were working for MediaCom. This is way back when. And I have a bachelor's degree from Iowa, and I went back to school at Augustana.
Is that the guy that's the new reporter or something?
No.
Or okay.
No, we worked on. We were working on, we would record high school sports, and they would put them on the next day. And there was a basketball tournament that we went to, and we were taking we were the stats guys, and so we're keeping stats, and all of a sudden we're hearing stats through our headsets that we're realizing are from somebody else. And so our own personal hell was keeping stats that nobody was ever going to use for a basketball game.
Forever.
Basketball is really hard.
Yeah.
Forever. Or mine, as I thought about it in that moment, was I'm stuck in traffic forever without actually going anywhere.
Yeah.
That was mine.
Those are good.
I know.
Those are good
That's why I
ones.
came up with them. So, well, one of them anyway. I'll give Bobby credit for one of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't think about that. Those traffic ones sounds
Pretty horrible.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
Also called Los Angeles.
yeah,
So-
it is that, or basic, or Atlanta for that
Oh,
matter.
Yeah, the worst.
Any
Yeah.
major
Houston.
city,
Yeah.
Chicago.
Chicago's not as bad.
It can be pretty bad, though.
It can be horrible.
I mean,
I have been in traffic, so where I grew up was about, on a good day, an hour and 10 minutes from downtown.
yeah. Traffic is especially torturous because it just pushes all our buttons in the wrong way, because whenever you're wanting to get somewhere,
You can't.
and you have
nothing
this
can do.
machine that allows you to get there at 70 miles an hour easily in comfort, and then it just is, you can't.
So my worst traffic in Chicago was 3 hours and 30 minutes to downtown. But recently I was driving to Atlanta to go visit a buddy of mine, and I was like, kind of have to pee. I got but the rest stop's closed. They don't have it. All right, I'll go in Peoria. Fine, Peoria. Let's see what I did there. and I'm getting into Peoria, and I'm like doing the GPS to find the nearest gas station because I got to fill up too, and it's saying it's like an hour. I was like, oh, that's not gonna be good. It can't be an hour because I'm right here. And all of a sudden, standing on the brakes, and I didn't move more than probably 30 feet in about 45 minutes. Yeah.
So there was an accident.
Yeah.
Wait, that's in Peoria, though.
Yeah.
That's not Chicago.
No.
That's
But
not.
still.
That's not like a city traffic.
It was 45
That's
minutes, and
yeah.
I had to pee. Maybe that's my own personal hell.
Having to pee
Having to
forever,
pee- forever,
Yeah.
and you're stuck in traffic.
and you can't.
You just can't.
That would be pretty
It was
bad.
terrible.
That would be bad.
So, should we fast forward through this one? What happens?
Yeah, well, let's just. So she goes. Yeah. So she talks about her. Oh, he has a personal hell too.
He does.
My
Never
personal
wants to be
hell
alone.
is I'd hate to be alone.
Yeah.
I want to be with people. And
Even though he's alone.
he's completely alone, there's nothing,
Yeah.
and he's got no connections, no family,
It's true.
no friends, and he lives in this kind of empty house with nobody around, no neighbors, nothing. She goes back to the hotel, and then she checks out, packs her bag, talks to her family, has no emotion,
None.
of course, about what she's done and what she's been up to.
No, she's like,
no
"I'll see you
interest in
soon."
them either. It's
Yeah.
just like she's just checking the boxes. Comes down, and he's in the lobby and goes, "You snuck out. You're a sneaky one.
Mm-hmm.
You're a tricky one." Now, a normal human being at that point would go, this guy that I just had sex with is now a kind of dangerous creep.
Yeah, he's a creep.
He completely stalked me to my hotel, which I didn't tell him where the hotel was. And he's getting weirdly proprietal. But she goes with him.
Somewhere. It's kind of out in the woods.
Goes to the woods, and he starts talking about
much.
his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he starts saying how the plant was... It said the plant was like a... anyway, she left her plant, and it just kept growing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's when they get back to his house. But anyway, he's really weird out in the woods. She shows no ability to sense danger at all. Or care. And this is probably why I stopped being quite as interested in the story as I would have been, because I did not recognize her inability to notice that she was in danger. It just, even if she's a sociopath, sociopaths are, I think,
self-preservation.
They're very good at that, aren't they? I mean, so she just didn't seem like a real person at that point, and I just kind of wasn't. My interest in the story started flagging, because I'm like, it's just like watching a dumb horror movie where the people are acting so stupid. So
I could see that.
So they go from. And he wants to have sex again, and she doesn't really want to anymore, but she's
going along.
Does anyway, even though she's about to go back to her family.
Didn't seem to bother her.
And and there wasn't going to be a shower in between. I would think that like cheaters like that would want to like hide the evidence. Anyway, whatever. It was. She was not a normal person. So they go back to her place, and the guy's screwing her, and he tells her about his ex-girlfriend and how he has the
screwing her in more ways than one.
Yeah. Well, he eventually puts her in handcuffs and goes, "Oh, trust me, you'll like it." And then he just keeps her there, and then
gives
also
her something to drink. Then
he gives her something to drink, and
which she immediately passes out.
Yes.
So that maybe does that answer the question about the earlier thing?
No. I think that this is a roofie, and I don't think he did the... I don't know. I just don't see how that first one could have been... She could have been roofied and then been as aware and awake and going around from place to place and partying. And unless he's a master chemist who gave her just the right drug, like MDMA or something that made her... But she didn't... I don't know. I think he just drugged her so that he could...
Whoa.
And then she's like a sex slave, and he said, "Oh, but I love you," and he's going to keep her there forever. And he leaves for work, and she has to just sit there on the bed, like handcuffed hand and foot. And she tries
because he then also chains her up by the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she can't escape, and she's trying to attract attention, but then she remembers the woman downstairs is deaf, and she just. She's waiting for him to come back, but it's just like, she's going to be there forever, kind of. And she thinks and then she doesn't think about her husband. She doesn't think about her kids, or she doesn't care really. And the window's open.
The window's open, and that's
and
what I
she's
wanted to
cold.
talk about. Yes.
And then she feels nothing, which she already felt nothing. And then she starts thinking about hell, and then what the nuns told her about hell is that it's eternity.
Forever.
It's forever. It's how many grains of sand there are on the planet. Each one is 1,000 years or something.
Yeah, and every 1,000 years one drops, and that's eternity.
Yeah. And which technically isn't. It's even longer than that. Right. But it's long enough to where...
I mean, I would say technically it's not because it's longer. Yeah, eternity
is longer. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that ends
but even then,
at some point.
Yeah, but it's still long. And then she thought about eternity, and and then that's the last line. So she's just going to be there forever, kind of. And
my argument was she is in hell.
Oh, yeah.
And they both are.
I don't think they both are.
Okay.
His hell is being alone. He's not alone. He's got her, like, sitting there at home.
So you're saying he's running the show in hell? He might be. That's
her hell, not his hell.
Yeah.
He's got a.
But she didn't seem to care.
He's got a friend.
Yeah. He said his friends were all going to be there, right?
Yeah. Wait. Oh, in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
there was a lengthy conversation. Well, not lengthy, but it's a short story. Nothing's that.
But
lengthy.
he said he wouldn't mind hell if his friends were there.
That's true.
He said he was looking forward to it. So he's in a hell, but not his personal hell because he's not alone.
Can I throw out the name of a series that I hope you have seen, but I'm guessing The Good Place. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
I like it.
Yeah,
I didn't watch all the seasons.
The first 3 seasons were amazing.
Yeah.
And it went to 5, which
I got to the point where they were like, they kept figuring it out, and they're trying to, and then they maybe realize that they're in the bad place.
Spoiler alert! Is that?
Yeah.
Should we? Yeah.
The series is like 10 years old. If
you
don't
fucking know by now. Yeah. All right. So, in looking back at this, this one, not The Good Place, which was amazing. Actually, I think I liked it more than you.
Yeah.
Not more than I like you. A little less than I like you. But I thought it was.
It had a twist ending.
It had a twist,
or it was inevitable.
It was.
I was irritated that it seemed a little cheap because the thing that happened. It was the old way of writing a story is where you decide what you want to happen, and then you make up these cardboard cutouts of characters to embody.
Okay.
They're basically chess pieces that you're moving around to get the outcome you want.
All right.
And not people that are characters that are treated like real human beings that do what they want to do, and then the story kind of comes out of that.
I mean,
and I didn't feel it was very surprising. I felt like right off at the beginning, I'm like, this guy is definitely a creep, and so I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I knew something, and so I just by the end, I'm like,
Okay.
That was my complaint.
I appreciate the explanation because the last story I remember writing, it was definitely a short story. I was in first grade. It was for our annual, like you have to, draw and you have to illustrate and do and then it would get published. And my story was about a soccer ball that came alive, and I knew how I wanted it to end.
Oh, that's Wilson. And
no, but mine was really alive.
Yeah, but it's
none of that bullshit.
You know what I think, man? I think that they ripped you off.
They
I
did.
think that you deserve a cut.
Hold on,
you need co-writer.
A good lawyer, or
I don't think you even need a lawyer. I think you just need to send him an email, and then you have the story, right?
I'm on it.
Wait, what was it was Castaway.
Yeah. The guys at the moonunderwaterpubcast.com will send them an email.
Is a cool guy.
Yeah.
Or he is a child eating pedo. If that's part of the QAnon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tom Hanks is a pedophile and a child sacrificer.
That's too bad.
So he's one or the other.
Yeah. Probably he's not.
He either is or isn't. He's not. That's a Matt. You're a computer guy. It's ones and twos, right?
Yes, exactly. Ones
or
and
zeros
twos.
and ones.
Yes.
I love.
Oh my God!
I love your contempt.
Yes,
and it was just filled with so much delight. You're just like, I've never seen you so happy. But
my whole job is ones and twos. That's so good.
That's the problem with you computer people. You can't think outside the box.
I can't.
Maybe that's the new thing. That's the new breakthrough. Silicon Valley. It's like, no, we're not doing zeros and ones. We're doing ones and twos.
Ones and twos are a totally AI thing. That's
yeah. And then all of a sudden, the internet, that's not even, that's yesterday's
news. We're not
news.
even on the internet.
No, it just opens up a portal into Narnia. Ones and twos.
Ones and twos.
You can laugh, Steve, but
that's quantum computing right there.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people. And
you are looking into the camera. I like that.
So yeah.
All right.
Is that it?
I mean, I kind of feel like it is.
Yeah.
I like it. I would read more of both of them. I would.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think you should read.
Listen.
You should listen to all. Well, especially since you like the.
Chris O'Dowd.
Yeah, you love that, and Klaire Keegan's got a bunch of stuff and trippy stuff, and it's all kind of like slightly unnerving, and
I dig that.
it's always like some guy. It's a creepy guy, and
Aren't we all creepy?
yeah,
Probably.
Well,
Yeah.
not
Some
me.
creepier than others, but there's a degree of creepiness to all of us.
Inner
It's true.
creepy. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's our essence.
Some of it, it's like some of it's hidden, some of it comes out.
It's just how much have we learned how to control
Yeah.
the inner creep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
Well, heck. Do you think?
I think that's it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Groovy.
Make sure you, I don't know, send us money.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Send us money or
Yeah.
emails.
No, give us a 5-star review and tell friends and stuff like that.
6-star, I would say. In
Yeah.
your math.
6-star? Yeah.
7-star review.
Yeah, because I think, anybody can get a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Moon Underwater.
1, 2.
6 stars. 7 stars. It's like
love it.
everybody thought that when you shaved, like having one blade would be enough.
No.
Then they did 2.
No.
And they did 3.
Yeah.
And they did 4.
5.
What did it go to? 5 was
I
the
think it's
max?
5. I don't shave anymore, so I don't care.
But at some point, they just stopped adding
That's
them.
why they need to add more bits. It's
Yeah.
not just zeros and ones. Zeros, nothing.
Zeros, yeah. I agree.
Thank you, people.
All right. Bye-bye.